people look at you and they're like, oh, what is that? I told my family, I'm going to do this crazy carnivore thing for 30 days. If anything happens to me, if I get a heart attack, if I have a stroke, if anything happens, it's because of this high fat diet. And you just need to know that that's what I'm, if you have to tell the doctors what's going on, this is what I'm doing. I emailed Paul Saladino and I got an answer and he said, meat causes herpes.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have one of my first carnivore friends, Vida, and she is from Greece, and she's just the kindest, nicest person that you'll meet in the carnivore space. So thank you so much, Vida, for joining me today.
It is such an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much.
So please tell us about your health journey and how you ended up here on the proper human diet.
Yes. Well, let's establish, first of all, that I am now 61 years old, and I discovered carnivore at 56. So just as a reference point, before that, I, as a child, I used to get, cold sores on my lips. Everybody got them. It was no big deal. And nobody ever thought anything about it. But as I kept growing and getting older, I began to have very serious cold sores on my lips, covering my entire mouth. This first happened when I was 34 years old, and I got a complete, massive outbreak on my lower lip, which swelled up. It was terrifying. I didn't understand what was going on. And the doctors at the time, I was in California, in San Diego at the time, and went to a few doctors there, and they're like, well, it's cold sores. Well, cold sores are herpes, which I never knew. I just figured they were cold sores. Herpes was a completely other different thing. But it was my first experience of having such a huge outbreak. And they just basically said, there's not a whole lot you can do. Just put the creams on, do this, do that, which I did. Some time passed. I would continue to get outbreaks, but okay, it was okay until I was about 44. I can't exactly remember the year, but I had another health scare. So I went in and got a mole biopsied, and that triggered the most intense outbreaks. The first time that I had very difficult times, and it was not just the lower lip, it was from my nose to my chin, the entire mouth area, this huge, swollen, painful, awful cold sore. I laugh when I say that word. This is herpes. It's herpes simplex virus number 1, which is here on the lips usually. I didn't know that. But I went to all the doctors and they're saying, well, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. Just put on these creams, take these antivirals, and good luck. As the years passed on from that, because this particular outbreak lasted for 8 months, literally, no exaggeration. No exaggeration. It was the most frightening thing that I had ever been through. So I had this full outbreak, exploding on my face and then crusting over as a herpes virus, a cold sore does, and then falling off. And I would have one day, one. If I was really lucky, I would have 2 days where I would be like this, normal without outbreaks. And then they would start again. And they went on such a rampage. It was huge. And I could not find a solution. I went to all the 3 or 4 different doctors of different types, dermatologists, and forgetting the word in English for sexually transmitted diseases. I was just looking for somebody who could say, "Okay, right, this is what you have. It's a herpes virus, and this is what you can do." And you can make it a lot better. None of that happened. I took all the medications. I did all homeopathies, alternative medications. I tried everything in my power. I could not get these outbreaks to stop. After 8 months of this happening, I was exhausted and searching online and came across Dr. Gabriel Cushions, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who did raw vegan diets. And he took 10 people to his center in Arizona, and he, with diabetes and heart problems and all sorts of things, and he put them on a raw vegan diet and monitored them and such. So most of them stayed in the program for a month, and many of them got better. And here I am, absolutely in despair, unable to go outside, unable to do anything because of these outbreaks. I was putting my food in a blender, blending it up. I was eating regular Mediterranean diet type foods, Greek foods, and I would blend it up and suck it through a straw because I could not open my mouth. I could not eat. I could not do anything. And so I decided to go raw vegan as I had nothing else to do. And here's the thing, Phumi, it worked. It worked. The outbreaks stopped. Um, I got better, and for about 6 months, I was on cloud nine. I thought, this is it. Meets the problem. Uh, all of that's bad for you. It's full of bacteria, and it's full of this and it's full of that. We're not meant to eat it. We're actually apes. And I went on that whole raw vegan thing until after about 6 months, I started needing to eat something else. So I went vegan, the classic vegan diet. And then I started getting the outbreaks again. And
Oh
at
my
that
gosh.
time, I was basically just on my face. So no big deal, right? I couldn't go outside, but it was just basically on my face. But I was convinced that meat was the issue. Seriously convinced that meat is bad. Like, you don't touch it. And people who eat meat, that's why they have heart disease. That's why they have diabetes. That's why they have all these problems. And that's why I've got herpes. So stay away from meat. But I was still getting outbreaks. And uh, as the years went on from like 44 until, I don't know, about 50 some, let's just say 56 when I turned carnivore, I had gone through the entire spectrum of raw vegan, vegan, for many years, vegan. Then I started eating some cheeses and things like that, and eggs, and went vegetarian. And then pescatarian. Uh, my husband is a fisherman, so there was always fish in the
Yeah.
house, and right, but I just wasn't eating it. And throughout all those years, these outbreaks here started happening on my body, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And they weren't 8 months continual outbreaks, but I ended up having 8 months out of the year full body herpes outbreaks. So I was my both sides of my neck, both sides of my body, genital herpes, on my fingers, sometimes on my toes, and I even had an outbreak on my legs, on both of my legs. Very, very strange things. So, and all of it happening all at once. And I was just immobile. I was lost in shame because anything that is around the word herpes is perceived as shameful because of the genital herpes. Okay. That's why. And even if you have any kind of marking, blistering, skin problems, and people look at you and they're like, "Oh, what is that?" and and you get locked into the shame of it all. I could not work. I could not be in the sun. My body was aching, and just so many things were happening, and I really didn't know anything about the herpes virus at all until I went carnivore. So imagine just throughout all these years, month after month after month, really I was okay only about 4 months out of the year where I could go outside, where I was okay and I looked normal. And then it would happen again. I loaded up on lysine. I would load up on all the things that I believed would help me, but nothing did. And then as I'm getting older, of course, menopause. And so we have other symptoms that are coming in. And I'm thinking in my mindset at the time, and believe me, I believed this like throughout every cell of my body that meat was the problem, that I'm just getting older and this is what happens to older women, that I'm going to gain weight, I'm going to start having arthritis, high blood pressure, whatever, right? Incontinence, all the things that older women have, until I went carnivore. So one day I am on the couch with a full body outbreak. I am completely in despair, thinking this is just going to be my life until I die. This is just it. And I thought, what if there's this one last thing that I can do? And I started searching and Googling and on YouTube, and I go to, I found this woman who talks about herpes, and she's basically talking about genital herpes. And so she has a big group on YouTube. I can't think of her name. She's quite wonderful. And she was talking about a herpes diet. And I thought, well, a herpes diet, but she was saying you have to eat meat, you have to eat dairy, you have to eat all foods that are high in lysine. So lysine, if for people who don't know, lysine will, let me put it this way. There's arginine and there's lysine. These are amino acids that are found in our foods that are in our bodies that are vital for creating protein. So we have arginine and lysine and a bunch of other ones. For the herpes virus, if you're eating foods that are high in arginine, herpes love it. They work together and it helps with the herpes out. Arginine and herpes love each other. They have a great time. It's like arginine opens the doors and lets the herpes virus come out on your body. Lysine is the other amino acid that subdues and keeps the herpes virus just tucked up in your nerve ganglia and not bothering you at all. So imagine you have a stadium and you open the doors. If all the arginine comes through, you're going to get a herpes outbreaks. But if you get mostly lysine coming through the doors and into that stadium, and it's mostly lysine over arginine, then quite possibly you'll have a very subdued outbreak or no outbreak at all. So she was talking about eating a herpes diet, which are foods that are high in lysine. And you don't eat foods that are high in arginine. Almonds are very high in arginine, right? Dairy products, cheeses and things like that are high in lysine, and meats as well. So I'm looking at this going, okay, I had come across it before, but Meat, never. Meat causes herpes. And I laugh at it. I just laugh at myself. I was so
I know.
sure, Bhumi. I
No,
was so
I
certain.
know.
And yeah, and so I started looking at the herpes diet, and that brought me to a Paul Saladino video on YouTube about the carnivore diet. And I was like, carnivore diet? What the heck is that? And so I watched this video, and he's talking about eating meat. And I was like, man, these people are crazy. This is crazy. This cannot be true. But it caught my eye, and I thought, well, none of what I have been doing, from the sad American diet, right, the standard American diet, the Mediterranean diet, cooking at home. I didn't buy any packaged foods, nothing. I didn't drink Coca-Colas. I did none of that. I prepared all of the meals at home, all of the cakes, all of the desserts and cookies and things like that that I was making for my girls. And I thought that I was perfectly healthy. Then I went vegan, fruits and vegetables and the dehydrator. And, that was, I thought, incredibly healthy until it wasn't. So I looked more into this carnivore diet, and it was just really back then. Paul Saladino had come out with his book, and Sean Baker. And so I was looking at that, and I was thinking, what the heck? And I think Dr. Ken Berry also had just come out with his book, or I just became aware of that these books were out there. I should probably say it that way. And I thought, this is absolutely crazy. So I emailed Paul Saladino,
Really?
and yeah, I did. I emailed him. I said, hey, listen, I've got this problem. I don't know what else to do. And I got an answer. And he said, or one of his team members, I don't actually know if it was him or one of his team members, but he said, for you and what you're going through, you do strict carnivore. Do not do the animal based diet, which is, low glycemic fruits, a little bit of
Yeah.
honey and things like that. And if you're metabolically healthy, I think that's a great way to be. But he told me, you do strict carnivore, do not eat anything else, and get yourself back on track. And then we'll see, right? Depending on how you do. So I thought, well, okay. So I bought his book and I read it. Very interesting. I bought Dr. Kim Berry's book after that, and read that. But I think that was a couple of months into carnivore when I got Dr. Kim Berry's book. And I just said, well, I'm going to try it. I told my family, I'm going to do this crazy carnivore thing for 30 days. If anything happens to me, if I get a heart attack, if I have a stroke, if anything happens, it's because of this high fat diet. And you just need to know that that's what I'm, if you have to tell the doctors what's going on, this is what I'm doing. And I really believed it. I really believed that after a month, I would be dead. I would not be here, sitting here talking to you 5 years later, right? It wouldn't be happening. And so I go carnivore. I eat my first fatty dinner. It was pork chops with, butter on it and salt. And I thought, this is crazy. This is just crazy. I went straight in. I didn't ease myself into it because I was desperate. I was desperate. I said, this is the last thing I'm going to try, this carnivore
Yeah.
thing. It's the last thing. There's nothing else for me to do after this. And if it doesn't work now, which it probably won't, I'll either be dead at the end of the month or I'll still have herpes outbreaks. Uh, right? and 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 so I eat this meat, and I hadn't had any kind of meat for, oh, I mean, uh, 16 years maybe. I can't remember the last time I had meat. So I take a bite, and I will never forget it. I will never forget that first bite. This mental, emotional dread that what I was about to do was horrible. And how could I possibly eat an animal? And how could I do this to my body? And then taking the bite, and my taste buds and my physical body going, yeah, it's about time, Vida. Where have you been? And I felt it was so incredibly delicious. It was so incredibly delicious. And I thought, well, okay, okay. And I went to bed, and I thought, well, I'll either wake up tomorrow with a huge outbreak, um, or, whatever. I'm going to have stomach problems, all these things. I slept beautifully. Like, when you're an older woman, you get up like 3 times at night to dribble pee, like you,
Mhm.
because it's like these little dribble drops, and it's normal for older women. And I just wake up, right? You just wake up, come out of the sleep cycles completely, and maybe you have insomnia, you can't get back to sleep. Well, I slept straight through the night. I hadn't done that in years. And I got up, and I thought, I feel really good. I put on my tennis shoes, and I went out for a short run. I'm not a runner. I don't like running. It's not something that I would ever just voluntarily choose to do. And I had all this energy, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, what's happening? And I thought, well, maybe, I don't know, I got some kind of vitamins that I just hadn't been getting on the vegan diet for a while, and maybe that's what it is. So I continued on this carnivore thing. I had a very slight dip, that keto keto flu that they say, which is bad terminology. It should be called carbohydrate detox.
Yeah.
And I had a slight, but just for a few days where I was just kind of down. And then, Phumi, I could not believe what happened. By the end of the month, I was I could not believe what was happening. I can't even remember all the things that changed within the first month. Was I still getting herpes outbreaks? I did get an outbreak at the end of the month. However, two things happened. One is that I felt so good that I didn't really care that I had this outbreak. And the second
Oh,
part of that is that the outbreak was half the size of what it normally was. So it wasn't a
wow.
full body outbreak, but it was an outbreak. And it wasn't as intense. It didn't make me feel sick. I didn't have the depression that went along with it. So there were these things that were happening. Yes, I had an outbreak, but it was better. And not only was the outbreak better, it lasted maybe 5 days, which was record timing. Usually my outbreaks lasted about 3 weeks.
Ah,
And so, so I kept going. And the other things that got better in my life, I was 56. I had just entered menopause. So I went into menopause quite late in life. I was 56 to 57. So all the symptoms of, the menopause, I was still getting hot flashes and things like that. That's another story. But the general feeling of brain fog, which is big with older people. You know, you just forget things. Uh, that got consistently better. I still forget things, but not nearly the way that I was forgetting. We could be talking and I would just lose track of the conversation. Like, what were we even talking about? So as the months went on, I just got better and better and better. I realized that I am no longer 56, 57 years old. I am now 30. I am no longer an older woman moving towards old age. I'm a 30-year-old woman
Oh
in
my
a
gosh.
vitally healthy body with some wrinkles and gray hair. And then, but yes, I'm growing older and I am getting older, and I will, hopefully, if I'm lucky, be an old lady. But I can feel 30 years old and be 61. And that's perfectly fine with me. I can have my wrinkles. I can have my gray hair. I can dye it. I can let it grow out, whatever. None of that matters. I feel fantastic. So uh, it took about 6 months for my herpes outbreaks to stop completely. So I had that one outbreak at the end of the month. And then a couple of months later in July, I had another one on my wrist. And I don't know if you can put up images of my usual outbreak on my wrist was the entire area here. It's all with, I don't know how many, 1,000 different herpes virus blisters and crusting over and things like that. But I had, after 6 months, just 2 to 3 little red marks that lasted a day. I consider that an outbreak because there it was, and I knew it was
Yeah.
starting, but it came and it left. So it was, I just sat there thinking, this is impossible. This is impossible. So the herpes stopped completely. Not even minimal outbreaks. As long as I'm carnivore, I stray off once in a while and play around with different, like eating watermelon in the summertime when I'm in Greece. Um, and then I might get another kind of outbreak like that. It's very minimal, but it is there. So I know that my body is reacting.
I don't know what to say, but I know how it feels to suffer with something for years and years and years, and then you try carnivore and it fixes it in the shortest amount of time, and you're just like, is this a joke?
Is this a joke? Yeah. And you know what, the rest of the joke is that okay, so all older age symptoms disappeared. No I had arthritis in my shoulder for years. Just I figured it was normal. In my shoulder, I had to stop practicing yoga because I could not lift my arm up. I could not do any of, yeah. It was arthritis. So arthritis is coming. It's going to be a problem. So, yeah, not able to practice yoga anymore. It just hurt too much. So, so that happened. That went away very quickly, like in the first month. That my shoulder suddenly just, well, there I was fine. Um, uh, I used to have, I was developing a fear of heights. Like I would no longer climb up on the kitchen counter, and yeah, developing a fear of heights. And my mother and my mother-in-law were both two women who told me the same thing. My mom, I mean, she's ketogenic and she's all over the place. She again will climb up, not up high on a ladder, but she will go up when she wouldn't before. And she got her arthritis and her problems. That's another story. And she went ketogenic at 79 years old. Um, and it's incredible. So I no longer had a fear of heights. I can climb up on the counter. I can go up high
This
on a
is
ladder,
crazy.
and I, yeah. So these are the things that nobody talks about, because usually carnivore is about your physical health journey. But part of being physically healthy is being able to move, to not have that type of fear, to be able to climb a tree if you have to, if you're going back in the in the day when we were living outside. So that happened. Arthritis disappeared. I had incontinence that disappeared. I had UTIs. Oh my goodness, 5 times a year, completely gone. Never had another one. Uh, um, this fear of heights disappeared. My sleep patterns became normal. Uh, so in 2011, when I was vegan, after being vegan for a couple of years, I had a brain aneurysm. And yeah, and I, it was a mild one. Otherwise, I would not be here. But it was a mild one. But it took me 2 years to get back in a workable function. That it happened in the right in the center of my brain, and just completely knocked me out. So my sleep patterns, when I talk about that, are important to me, because I used to close my eyes, drop into deep sleep. It would go all the way down in deep sleep, and then I would wake up. So I had no moving patterns of sleep. It was just almost comatose. And my daughters would come in to wake me, to try and wake me up, and they would shake me and say, "Mom, mom, mom." And I wouldn't wake up. And it was quite frightening. They were 12 at the time. And so the other difficulties with that, again, brain fog, obviously. I wasn't able to organize things and put things in order, things like that. So and that just kind of stayed. My sleep patterns started coming back a few years later. But I would not remember a dream. I could not remember dreams at all. I mean, I would just close my eyes and be gone. When I went carnivore, I have no way to prove this. But when I went carnivore, very quickly, I started remembering dreams again. And I started sleeping. It was a more restful sleep. Even though I would drop into these deep sleeps, I would wake up and feel more refreshed. And so my sleep patterns are really important to me, and I watch them even today, um, uh, just to make sure that everything's okay. But since going carnivore, where I'm almost 5 years in now, uh, my sleep has been amazing, amazing. So, two different things. I do not know, and I cannot say that the vegan diet helped with that I actually had the aneurysm. I cannot say that. I probably would have had the aneurysm anyways, unless at a young age I had been carnivore. Then I actually believe, or ketogenic, low carb, I actually believe that probably an aneurysm would not have occurred. But again, I have no valid way to prove that. It's just my perspective on it. And it's my perspective because of how I was before when I was vegan, and how I am today being carnivore. And Phumi, this carnivore thing is amazing. Even after 5 years, it's amazing. I sit down and eat the same meal, the same steak, day after day after day, and my mouth is watering. And I think this is the most incredible thing I've ever had, as long as I'm hungry. So if you allow yourself to get hungry, then this, you never get tired of it. And people cannot know these things until they do it. You cannot think about it, add other people's research on it. You cannot do anything unless you actually do it and experience the carnivore diet for 30 days at least, and just watch what happens with your body. Just watch what happens.
I love your story because, firstly, it's a very unique carnivore story. And that's why I'm happy to have you on my channel, because just so people have so many things going on in their bodies, and sometimes you don't know, because this is not something that somebody else would want to publicize. As you said, it's
Yeah.
embarrassing, it's shameful, but there's probably someone out there who's going through something else that's embarrassing, shameful, and an embarrassing symptom, and they don't know that it's possible to heal. And so thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for your own pages, your TikTok, your Instagram, your YouTube channel, where you do share this story without the shame, because it's not shameful. It's not your fault that carbs, sugar, veggies did this to you.
Right. Right.
It's nobody's fault. And you thought you were doing the right thing because that's what the literature says. That's what the studies say. That's what every doctor says. Go plant-based. That's the solution to everything. All these, vegan healing retreats. And as you said, it does help people for a certain amount of time. And for whatever reason that it does help. I guess, fruit and veg have some kind of detoxing effect, because I've also been there. I did get some benefits from the smoothies and the juices until my body was like, you're overdoing it, and now I need nourishment. And thank goodness we both found carnivore. I don't know what would have happened to me if I hadn't found it. And yeah, I'm just listening to your story and I'm like, this is amazing. And on top of it, you got so many other benefits. You basically reversed all your menopause symptoms, which also reiterates everything that I want to scream to every woman in this planet, that as a woman, no, we're not supposed to suffer. Whether you're suffering through your adolescence when you get your first cycle, and then in your 20s your cycle develops into endo and PCOS, and then they tell you, oh, it's just going to get worse and worse, you're going to get menopause, and this is going to happen, that's going to happen, you're going to end up having to take out your uterus. Nope, actually that's not all true. None of it is true.
No.
And you are living proof that nope, it's not true. Good health attained at any age, at any stage. Doesn't matter how bad it is, as long as you change your diet and eat the right thing. But you have to believe it first, because how much convincing your own body had to convince you to believe that meat is not bad.
Yes, my own body. And I am back in the United States now, and I'm watching people. There's quite a bit of obesity around, and it's obesity on its own isn't the problem, but along with the obesity come a host of other issues that I'm hearing conversations with people and having conversations with people and young people saying that, well, they're taking this medication for their ADHD, they're taking that medication for the depression, they're taking medications for all of these symptoms that they're having, while they're eating the the high carb meal that they have in front of them. And I don't say, well, go carnivore and just watch what happens, unless they ask me. because when I was in the vegan world, I was shouting out that the whole world needed to be vegan and pushing it down people's throats. And I no longer, I don't have the need to do that. But there are some people that I talk to when they ask me, they're like, "What? You don't even eat bread?" I'm like, "No, I do
Yeah.
not. I will not. I will not. There's no reason for me to eat bread. First of all, I don't want it anymore because your taste buds will change over time.
Yeah.
If you give yourself a month, maybe 6 weeks, your taste buds will change and you will no longer have those cravings that are embedded in our minds, in our behaviors from childhood, those sugar cravings. Everything that's carbohydrates is sugar. Just think of it that way. And what we're doing on the ketogenic or carnivore lifestyle is fats. You're eating fats and you're burning the fats. That's why I lost all the menopausal weight that I had gained, thinking this is normal. When you get older, you go into menopause and you gain weight. It all went away within the first month or two. I was back to my 60 kilos or 132 pounds, which was my normal weight when I was 30. And, these are the other things that got better. So emotionally, I had always been um, very sensitive. Right? If you said something or looked at me the wrong way, or uh, there was anger, I was always trying to appease and make sure everybody was okay, so nobody would get mad at me because I was so sensitive. And if you were angry at me, I would just spiral into, what have I done? I'm a horrible person. There must be something wrong with me. Just negative thoughts, the glass half empty, and my cycle would trigger it, depending on where I was on my cycle, would trigger it. And then I thought, well, it's just premenstrual syndrome. That's it happens to all women. Uh, so yeah, okay. And then, but also almost a sense of anxiety with people. And I would say that there were times when I had near panic attacks um, uh, from an argument. If I had an argument with my husband, I could just spin it off and just go down to the depths of the abyss. And I just thought it was normal, Pumi. I just thought that having those emotional spikes of up and down was a feminine thing, and that I was just that way, and people needed to be more careful around me because I was that way. And then on carnivore, it it disappeared. For 5 years now, I have not had an emotional spike. Even when I got really angry, if I can get angry, right? I'm not all just zen and everything is
Yes.
beautiful. And yeah, I mean, life happens. And even when something bothers me, rather than taking it on personally as this is an affront to me, um, it was more like, oh God, this guy is saying this thing to me, or like my husband, my kids, whoever, right? They're saying this to me. Um, I wonder if it's true. And like, rather than getting emotional about it, I'd be like, let me think about it. And it might spark an anger, but the anger would go bloop. And then I would be back on my level ground. So you tell me, and I'm saying this because so many other people who have gone carnivore, uh, went carnivore maybe to lose weight, but also found that their emotional ups and downs just poof, disappeared,
Yes.
disappeared. So, you know, it's worth looking at, no matter what you have, the things that bother you about your life, the things that you might believe are just who you are, may not be. And
Yes.
why not, why not give your body a month or two on carnivore? And I would say strict carnivore, just to see, do your panic attacks or your anxiety, does it mellow out? I'm not saying it's going to like disappear, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be more of a very mellow pendulum swing like this rather than from one extreme to the other.
Yeah. I can relate a lot to that, especially the sensitivity and the emotional part. But also, I can relate to the sense of stability, emotional and psychological stability. I mean, I'm so zen now that sometimes I forget that not everyone else is going through this. And then
Yes.
I'm like, there's peace on earth because there's peace in me. But then I look at the world and I'm like, oh, no, not everyone's like this.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I
Yeah.
think uh, I think it's just one of the many benefits of being carnivore, or at least I know there's a lot of people out there who can't fathom the idea of just eating meat. And people that I work with, some of them are like, well, can I just move into this slowly? I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Of course you can, right? You, first of all, people have to work with who they are. And, and what's helpful about working with somebody in that on the carnivore journey is let's say there's a type of person, right, that comes in and like, no, I'm gonna just go low carb for now and just slowly work my way. Like within a month, I'll go carnivore because I don't want to do this keto flu or this carbohydrate detox thing. I don't know if I can just eat meat. I don't think it's going to work for me. It depends on the person's situation. So if you were an extreme herpes outbreaks type person, you'll probably go straight carnivore and just go through the first month, whether you have the carbohydrate detox and you kind of feel down and maybe achy for a couple of days to a couple of weeks. It actually depends. But you'll probably want to do that just to get rid of the outbreaks rather than moving in slowly. So, so here's the time that I actually forgotten what I was saying before.
Well, I was gonna say that I was watching a video. I don't know who it was. I think it was a Dave Mack video. And someone in the comments said people cheat on carnivore when they are not in enough pain.
Oh, that's I think that's a very valid point. And people need to get to some people need to get to that strong pain point like I was in. Otherwise,
Mm,
I can't imagine that I ever would have turned towards carnivore if I had
hmm.
not been suffering so intensely for so many years. Um,
Yeah.
but some people just want to lose some weight and they're like, well, I'll try it. Or some people are more open and they're thinking, well, I don't know. They see a few videos and they like what they see and they think, well, I'll try it for a month and see what happens. I have a very young man who, for the past 2 years has been coming into carnivore and then going off and trying this, maybe taking medications. He has herpes outbreaks. He suffers from herpes, and he's just coming and going and coming and going, and we're always speaking. So when he said, "Well, I'm gonna I'm going to go out with my friends, and I'm young. Of course, I'm going to drink. I'm young, and I keep telling him over and over and over, when you're tired, when you're tired, you will go carnivore. You will do 90 days carnivore just to see what happens. When you're tired enough, when you've had enough,
Yeah.
you're young still. I get it. And I said, and I'll be here when you make that decision. So now he is 2 months into the carnivore diet, like a
No.
month and a half, 2 months. Yes, he finally did it. And his continual herpes outbreaks are diminishing. And
Wow.
I just
Good.
know, as with so many other people who suffer from herpes in any form on their body, that it may take 5 months, it may take 8 months, it may only take a month. It depends on your own system. We're all different, but eventually they will stop. You won't get rid of the herpes virus. That stays with us. It has been with us. Herpes has been with us for millennia. So
Yeah.
herpes has developed this really strong, smart way of living within us without allowing our immune system to eradicate it, to kill it.
Yeah.
Right. So it just sits deep in, the nerve ganglia there. And it's just all kind of quiet and sleeping dormant until it has enough of what it needs to come out and express itself and pass on to other humans and things like that. But herpes has been with us since we were primates. They both HSV1 oral herpes and genital herpes have been with us for millennia. And so you just figure that most people have had a cold sore at one point in their lives, haven't they? I mean, most people have had something. And so a huge amount, I won't say a number, but a huge percentage has herpes. And they just call it a cold sore, but it is herpes. Another huge amount of people has genital herpes. Um, not as much as not as much documented as the people with cold sores, HSV1, but um, but genital herpes has been passed from primates until we became human beings. So it also is an expression and a virus that lives within us. And some people never even know that they have genital herpes and that they may be passing it on because they've never had an outbreak. It's very, very difficult to put into a box. And so, having said that, to all of you out there who do have genital herpes, that does not mean that you can just go have sex with somebody and not inform them that you carry the HSV2 genital herpes. That's just totally irresponsible, not only to the other person, but especially to yourself. So let me just say that. Aside from that, though, a lot of people are passing along genital herpes because they don't know that they have it. Because maybe they've had once in their life something that they thought was an ingrown hair, a little tiny, tiny little blister. It wasn't an outbreak like what I was getting. It was just a little tiny thing. You do not have to have an open wound, an outbreak, to pass herpes on to other people. You can still pass it on even when you're not having an outbreak. There's an area in there where it's not always passable and not everybody passes them, but you don't know. So the numbers that they say is like maybe 13%. I think the CDC is saying 13% of people have genital herpes. Those are documented cases. So many people are not yeah, are not documented. So many people don't know. So I suspect that the number is higher, but the official records are like at 13 or some percent. Another study that I had read in New Zealand was saying that from a herpes clinic that they were doing a study that maybe 6 out of 10 people have genital herpes. So if you've got, if you're in a party of 10 people, 6 of you probably have genital herpes. I'm putting the probably in it. They were saying that's a pretty high number. That's a lot
Really?
more than I think the 13%. But again, there's ups and downs. So it's really difficult to have genital herpes uh, because of the shame that's wrapped up around it. Um, but when you look at the facts of this virus, that it's a brilliant little virus. We should all be happy that we've got such a smart virus living in us, because it can find ways to avoid your immune system, right? It just has this symbiosis. Is that the right word? Where it's doing its job within us, and usually doesn't bother people too much, except if you're someone like me. Um, Usually it's just what you get a cold sore once in a while, or one of those fever blisters or canker sores. Um, and people just don't know. So, so the herpes that was coming out on my body, my neck and my body, was from the chicken pox when I got the chicken pox as a kid. So herpes zoster, VZV, they call it, and that. So I was getting that intensely. Most people have like just one like string of um, the virus, that a breakout, right, somewhere on their back or whatever, and that's herpes zoster, and it usually begins to come out later on in life. So, so I had that, and undiagnosed, but a huge possibility that what I'm saying is correct is that when I was 16, I had mononucleosis, and mononucleosis uh, uh, will turns into the fourth kind of the herpes virus, which is the Epstein-Barr virus. So
Oh,
yeah, Epstein-Barr. So that comes out. So
EBV.
EBV, yeah, it's another of the 8 types of herpes virus that we have. And because I had mononucleosis, which was documented, I got all the tests and went into the hospital, and that's what I had. So it's a part of the reason it does not come out on the body as blisters, but you just feel awful, right? You feel sick. So uh, I think with the kind of outbreaks that I was getting, whether I had the EBV or not, I would still feel awful because my entire body was inflamed. So let me add just another piece of this herpes puzzle. For those out there who are getting very intense outbreaks and continually intense outbreaks, uh, go and get your thyroid checked, especially if you're female. Go and get your thyroid checked. Uh, Go and get other autoimmune tests done, because it could very well be that part of the reason why I had such intense outbreaks, and so many, was because I was also suffering from, apparently, which I did not know, Hashimoto's. So here's the thing. I went carnivore at the end of March in 2021. In August of that year, I went to get blood tests done to make sure that I wasn't going to die of a heart attack. I was still thinking all these things like, something's going to happen. I'm getting older. This is dangerous. And everybody around me was saying, Are you sure? And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
I'm not getting any outbreaks. I feel great. Oh my gosh, I don't have arthritis anymore. When I go to the bathroom to pee, I pee like I'm 20, like just this full stream. It doesn't go blip and then stop and then blip, blip, blip. It's like 20. And I'm like, this is amazing. And you don't think about things like that, Pumi. I mean, who thinks about things like that? You just think I'm getting older and that's how it's supposed to be. No, you're not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to feel 30 probably until the day we die. And then we die, right? But we're
Yeah.
supposed to feel decent at least. And so I went in to make sure that I wasn't going to have a heart attack and see where my cholesterol was and where all the things that people tell you that you're going to get high cholesterol. And yeah, my cholesterol is high, but I'm not worried about that anymore. So I go in and as I was getting the blood test, I said, well, why don't you do a thyroid check just to see, right? Because I had never done one.
Mhm.
And I get the thyroid test back, and my anti TPO number, um, is it that one? Was at 2,500. And at the time in 2021, it should have been at 60. Now they've dropped it to 30. And I was at 2,500, right? And 2,495.5. So let's just say 2,500. And I was and looking at the microbiologist right there, and he said, oh my God, he says, this is Hashimoto's. This you got to go get yourself checked. You got to get on medications. You're in trouble. And this was from March, April, May, June, July. So this was August, 5 months into the carnivore diet. I was no longer getting herpes outbreaks. My last outbreak had been in July. Um, I I mean, I'll count the one in September, which was just those two dots, that came for a day and left. But I was feeling great. Everything in my life got better. Everything. My emotional areas, the way I looked at the world, the way I looked at myself, I suddenly had confidence, which I had been searching for my entire life, Pumi, searching for that feeling of, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. As a human being, as a woman, as this person, this Vida Evenson, I'm good with myself. I actually like myself. And along with that, right, I get this 2,500 Hashimoto's marker. And I'm like, oh, is that why I had such intense herpes outbreaks? So I don't know if there's a correlation, but this is what I do know is that when the immune system and your metabolism is all messed up and is unable, if my immune system is focusing at hitting all those inflammatory markers in my body, whatever's going on, right, and trying to fix everything and going crazy because I'm so inflamed over the years and years and years and years and years of eating carbs. I mean, wouldn't that be just the playground for the herpes virus? Since the herpes virus it will also, when it has loads of arginine, which are in carbohydrate foods, they are also in meats, but they are lesser and they are balanced. And when you're just carnivore, you don't get that problem. But in a carbohydrate diet, your body's already highly inflamed. You've got all these problems that are showing up as arthritis, as incontinence, as emotional ups and downs, as I mean, all the things, right? On my YouTube channel, if you go back, there's this old video that I did, one of the first ones, say the 21 things that healed on the carnivore diet, and I talk about all of them. And one of them being I can go out in the sun now and I won't get a herpes outbreak, and also I don't get sunburned anymore. I don't need to wear sunscreens or anything. I just don't get sunburned. So, I mean, just
That's a
as a
big
little
deal.
side, right? Yeah, and so I'm looking at this information that, okay, if I have the Hashimoto's mark, if I'm 2,500, now I'm down. Last blood test, which was about 8 months ago, the thyroid was like basically balanced. I was down to 60 or
Oh,
64 or
wow.
something like that, and I was like 64. Okay, 64 is fine with me. I don't know where
Yeah.
it is today. It could be even lower, but I no longer have Hashimoto's. Like the autoimmune disease is gone. Where the heck did it go? Where
And
did it
can I
go?
just confirm that you did not take any medication, nothing? You just, the only
Uh,
change was the carnivore diet.
the only change with the carnivore diet, and Phumi, I had no idea that I had that problem. So why would I be taking any medications for it?
Yeah.
And when I found out after being 5 months carnivore, because I was feeling so good that I felt wonderful, I was no longer shaky. My hands didn't shake even when I drank coffee, like my fingers, they used to shake. I mean, I had all sorts of just little minor growing old things that were going wrong with me. No medications. I'm not a medication kind of person. I'll take them when I have to. But I found out I was already 5 months carnivore. So I said, well, imagine where that number was. The number must have been much higher
Yeah.
because I had already been 5 months carnivore. And so, and so I'm at
Oh my
2,500.
gosh.
And this is what I said to myself. I said, okay, Vida, you're doing really good. Things are going really well. I'm just going to keep going and another 6 months, and then I'll do another blood test and let's see where I am. And that's what I did. And then if the number is still high or if I'm having problems of any kind, I will take the medications. I'll do whatever they say. And I went back and got a blood test and it was at 64, from 2,500 to 64 within 5 months. Okay.
Unreal.
And so I feel great. I'm 61 and I feel 30. And I say that over and over. I'll shout it out to the world that anybody out there can feel the same.
Vida, even if you didn't say that you feel great, anyone can see that you feel great.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Come on.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. I am a glass half full, um highly optimistic person, especially now. And
Mm.
it's not that I'm optimistic in a fake kind of way.
Yeah.
It is right. It is my choice. I am an uppity, energetic person. I am. Um, it
But
is
it's
my
different now.
choice. Yeah, it's different because like that pendulum swing, right? I'm no longer going all the way here and here. I am right here in the middle, and it's very balanced in there. And in order to come to that balance, uh, uh, it's not just the diet. So it's not just changing your diet, the carnivore diet. It is more like a primal lifestyle that is the end point. And when you get to that place, you can't help but be positive and optimistic, even on bad days. So when I help people move into the carnivore lifestyle for whatever reason that they have, mostly working with people that suffer from herpes, um, and when I help people through that, it's like, okay, the first thing you need to do is this material physical body. That is the carnivore diet. Get
Yeah.
on the carnivore diet. And when you get there and you eliminate all the other things, it's just a matter of taking a breath and exhaling and just leave all those extras to the side. It doesn't mean that they're going to go away. You can still find brownies and cookies and potato chips and all the things and breads. They're not going away. They're going to be there next month, right? So just push them aside and just tell yourself that again and again and again, right? Spaghetti is not disappearing from the planet because I stopped eating it. Okay. It's going to be there if I choose to have it again. So that's my focus of working with people. But you push that aside. And then when you begin on the diet, when you change your diet, you're working with this physical body. And when you strengthen and revitalize this human physical body, automatically your sleep will get better. Automatically, your emotional ups and downs will begin to just kind of flow like a gentle sea rather than crashing waves. Automatically, you will be more centered within yourself. Automatically, there's going to be a deeper connection. And however anybody comes to the whole spiritual aspect, it's a deeper connection between mind, your body, and your creative energy or spirit that that invokes uh, that newness of, oh, I want to try this. It supports your creativity because everybody's creative. Every single person on the planet, if you're breathing, you are a creative human being. Doesn't matter if you can paint or not. You are a creative person because the process is the same as if you're painting a painting. I'm an artist for those of you who don't know. I have another YouTube channel talking about that. But everything comes together. You become centered in this channel from the more abstract spiritual areas, coming into your physical body to the actions you take in the world. Does that make sense to you of what I'm saying? So all of these things just begin to happen because you made that one decision, just that one, that today I'm going to eat meat and fats and drink water and eat salt. And everything else is going to go to the side. So you become more
And Miss
mindful,
Vida,
you become meditative. Yeah.
I believe you because it's happened for me, but I can understand how it's hard to not believe it when it hasn't happened for you. I know we sound crazy, but this is why they made the food pyramid like that, so that you would not get to this level.
Imagine all people at this calm, beautiful level. I mean, what would the pharmaceutical companies do if they stopped having to sell their depression medications and things like that? And I'm not saying, I'm definitely not saying that if you go carnivore, your cancer will disappear. Or if you go carnivore, you will never feel depressed again. Or if you go carnivore, you will never have a herpes outbreak again. But what I am saying is that you, as a human being, take responsibility for your own vital health. And part of those pieces, it's a very, very small puzzle. You don't need to think about it too much. It's what you put in your mouth, what you're feeding your physical body. It is your mental capacity, your ability to focus or to release, to let go. It is, I'm talking mentally letting go, like being okay without your cell phone and scrolling. Like you can sit under a tree and just sit there and be, which is something that is quickly getting lost in today's world. And also with your emotional state, your emotional state also comes into balance. So by making one decision, one, that I'm going to try carnivore for 30 days. I always tell people 90 days, do 90 days, because after the first couple of weeks, you'll feel so good. You'll do it anyways. But for some people, it's difficult to comprehend that I'm going to eat that meat and fat. They're going to be certain, as I was, that by the end of the month, they will have a
Linda.
stroke or a heart attack, and they're going to die, right? And carnivore is going to kill them. So it's it's a process, and it really does depend on who you are and how you feel about things and how desperate you are to get healthy. How you go about the carnivore diet, but it's not just a diet. Everything else comes into play, and the puzzle pieces are like 4 or 5 of them. It's your diet, what you're putting in your body. It's your mental focus and calm and ability. It is your emotional balance and your physical strength, obviously. It's your sleep, and it's your ability to connect and feel whole. And it's quite a nice feeling to feel whole again. I don't know that I ever felt whole, maybe when I was a baby, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I was like, again, this is my first time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're lucky. You're young. You have all these years ahead of you. Imagine what we can do. Imagine what we can do with that. So
And
it's just amazing.
well, thank you so much, Vida. And thank you for talking about the spiritual part too. I'm glad that we did touch on that.
Yeah, yeah. It should be a lot more. I think in another, we'll probably get together again. I think we have so much to talk about.
We
I'll
do.
bring you on. I'll bring you on my podcast again when I get that up and going, and get more on those more subtle areas that get better. Because
Hmm.
people can go anywhere on YouTube and find, oh, I had this problem, I had that problem, and it got better. And we're talking, you know, we're talking problems that the conventional medical community is saying that cannot be fixed,
Yeah.
and they're getting healthy on a carnivore diet. People in wheelchairs with MS who are like taking the deep dive get up, and there they are. They're healing without the
Hmm.
medications, without anything. Things that are incurable. Where and like there's herpes are incurable. They never leave. You don't have to have outbreaks. Like you do not have to have them. And if you do get them, they can be little tiny ones. Who cares? I don't get them, but I mean, but I can't say that nobody else will never get them. So, Pumi, yes, I think we have a lot to talk about on other levels, especially like we have talked in the past about sexuality and that whole
Yes.
energy, right? Yes, it's incredible what happens, right? You get your libido back, even when you're 60, right? Still and things, sexually you're working on a whole different level. Emotionally you're on a different level. In your relationships with other people, it's a different level. It's healthy. You're just healthier. Everything is
Better.
is better, and you cannot believe it until you do it. And you know that because you're a recent uh, uh, right? I mean, how long have you been carnivore now?
It's only 9 months and my life has
Well,
changed.
yeah. Your life has changed. When we spoke last time, it was what, maybe you were 4 months in and you had seen
Yeah.
some incredible changes. Incredible. So, yeah. So now this friend of mine, who is finally carnivore, is now getting his outbreaks are much less, and they're less intense. And there's a time span. It's been now been some time. He used to get them every 2 weeks, just
Oh my gosh.
continually, and that's no longer happening. So, and another person that I worked with was getting outbreaks on her face, and she is about 7 months now carnivore. Um, she's clean, nothing.
That's
And
amazing. It must be as it happened for you, so confidence boosting, and yeah, it's amazing to get rid of something like that. Well, the actual manifestation of it.
yes, 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 definitely.
So thank you for joining me today. And just to finish the video, please tell everybody about where they can find you, and also don't forget to mention that you are joining me on the coaching.
That's right. So basically, if you put in TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube, Vida goes carnivore as one whole word, you will find me there. And the coaching, Phumi and I are just about to begin a coaching course with Dr. Kiltz, which I'm really excited about, to go through that process, and already learning some things about that. So uh, that I think is going to be a challenge, and also a very, very communal experience that we will all go through and get more knowledge about some of the medical aspects of coaching in this carnivore sphere. And I find that important to learn as much as I can, because I am not a doctor. I am not, I'm an artist. So for me, it is important to have a stronger understanding in the medical sphere of what's happening and learn some things. My coaching practice, the way that I go about it is more like a life coach kind of thing. So I'm not. I'm taking somebody's current situation and looking forwards, and helping them walk through how they can do carnivore, being there as their support system as they go through the change of becoming carnivore, and then moving people into their best expression of their own sense of vitality, which I believe that we are meant to wake up feeling vitally healthy, full, and satisfied each and every day of our lives, even when things aren't all peachy keen and wonderful. We still need to feel that inner sense of balance. And I think when we come to the world living in that space, everything is a possibility. So with that, I will close and look forward to seeing you in the class. That's coming up very soon, isn't it?
4 days to go.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for changing people's lives. I can just imagine how much better they feel, and the vitality that you're passing on to them. So thank you on their behalf, and thank you for joining me on my channel. I'm so happy to have you,
I'm
and
happy to be
you
with
need to
you.
come back so that we can talk about everybody's favorite topic, okay? I'll
Definitely.
I'll I'll give the 30-year-old version, and you can give the
The
60-odd
60-year-old
version.
just perfect. I think that's a great idea. I
And I
think that's a
think we
great
will
idea.
have a lot of similarities.
I think so too. I think so too. Thank you,